Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. My name is Imogen. I am a third year student at the London School of Economics doing geography with German. However, that is a side note from what we're going to talk about today. It is the new year and around New Year's lots of people often talk about resolutions, their goals for the next year, and these tend to be fitness related for a lot of people. So I thought I would finally address the question of how did I go from being that girl who would not even walk to school to then last year doing my first ever triathlon and at the ripe old age of 21 finding my love for sport and actually choosing to go out and exercise. As ever, I always want your input so that these videos are actually helpful, so I asked some questions over on my Instagram and I have plenty to answer. So the first one, which I think is very apt, is how on earth did I start triathlon? So I started running in about September 2021 because I was really anxious about going back to university and I found that running really helped with my mental health. I built it up very gradually using something called the Couch to 5K program, which is a free app that you can download and it just gradually increases your running each week. I kept running, I got to about 3 kilometers and decided that was fine for me, and I was doing that all the way through until December last year, where my mental health, I'm going to be honest, had hit a bit of a low point again, and so I decided that I wanted to have a goal to work towards. I vividly remember sitting in my local library. I had been working on essays because I had so many deadlines last Christmas, and I thought, right, Imogen, you swim a little bit with uni, you run a little bit on your own, and you went for a few cycles over the summer and you kind of enjoyed it. Okay, the logical thing to do is a triathlon. So I started looking into it. I literally had no idea what was involved in a triathlon. I didn't know the distances. I just about knew that those were the 3 sports. It was all very well saying that I was going to get into exercise, which is a great goal, and I want to improve my fitness this year. But if you don't work out what that looks like on a weekly basis and what those small steps are to lead to the big goal, it's not going to happen. So I worked out that I could go and do some gym classes at uni. I had already paid my membership for swimming at uni, but I'm not going to lie, if there was a social event, I was prioritizing that before going to swimming. So I said, no, Imogen, give yourself a month. In this month, you're going to prioritize swimming and you're going to work other things around it, like social events and uni work and stuff. You can find 3 hours a week to go swimming. And I was going to continue running where I could. Fast forward a month, I was finally starting to feel those increases in fitness.
I think I did it at sub 30.
Which only made me want to train a bit more. And this is when I started telling my family and my friends that I was going to do a triathlon. I don't think they fully believed that I was actually going to do it, which only made me more determined to go and prove them wrong. And my training, I guess, went into more full swing. That was a nice waffly story for you to start off the video. My original triathlon that I was aiming for was in May. They actually cancelled the triathlon because the venue that they were hoping to use wasn't available anymore. So that was a bit of a blow. So I then had to look for a new triathlon, and I did my first ever sprint triathlon in September 2022. Which leads me nicely on to the next question, which is, which triathlon did you do and how long was it? So with triathlon, there are 5 main distances. You've got the super sprint, which is 400 meters of swimming, 10 kilometers of cycling, and 2.5 kilometers of running. I decided this was just a little bit too short, so I set my sights on a sprint triathlon, which is a 750 meters swim, 20 kilometer cycle, and then a 5 kilometer run. Then you go up to the next level, which is the Olympic distance, and that is double again. So you're looking at a 1.5 kilometer swim followed by a 40 kilometer cycle and then just a 10k at the end to finish it off. Then the next one up is an Ironman 70.3. So that is 70.3 miles across all 3 disciplines, which in kilometers is 1.9 kilometer swim followed by a 90k bike ride and then a half marathon, so 21 kilometers to finish. And then the most famous form of triathlon, the one you've probably all heard of, is an Ironman triathlon, and that is a 3.2 kilometer swim followed by a 180 kilometer bike ride and then just kind of gentle jog in the park. You've got a full marathon to finish the triathlon. In the end, I looked at doing Olympic or sprint distance, but I decided that Olympic was just a bit too challenging because I didn't know how my training was going to pan out with university. Obviously, I have a lot of other commitments, which I'm going to talk about in just a second. So the next question is, how was it? And I think you can tell from how I talk about it, I absolutely loved my first ever triathlon. Yes, it was challenging, and yes, it was really, really difficult and something I never thought I'd be able to do, but it was such an enjoyable experience. In terms of how the actual race went, I have filmed the whole experience, so some of you will have probably seen it before, but I will link the video somewhere on and show you the video somewhere on the screen now. But in terms of how it went, I trained a little bit for outdoor swimming, but definitely not as much as I would have liked to. Getting in the wetsuit for the first time was terrifying, and I really had to slow my breathing down, not because I was swimming too fast, but actually because I was just nervous about the race as a whole. And once I settled into the swim, it was absolutely fine. I think I did it in about 15 minutes, so I was really happy with that time. Then onto the bike course. This is where I really lost some places because I was riding on my mountain bike, which is not really made for speed. And when they said the course was flat, I thought they meant the course was flat. It was not. There were definitely some hills in there, and I did really struggle with some parts of the course. But actually, looking back at my time, it was faster than I'd ever cycled that distance before. So clearly something had gone right. And then the run I actually found surprisingly okay. You get this sensation when you come off the bike and onto the run, so it's called transition 2. It's colloquially known as jelly legs, and if you've ever tried to cycle and then run straight after, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, where you just feel like you're all over the place. So the first kilometre is always hard, but after that I settled into the run and I was able to make up a few places here, and I actually did that faster than I'd anticipated in about 28 minutes, I want to say. Leading on from that, the next question is, will I do another one? Of course the answer is yes. Yeah, I'm working out logistics of trying to graduate and then maybe do a bit of traveling this summer, but also make sure I'm back in time to train and also do the triathlons. So I'm not 100% sure which one I'm doing this summer yet, but I will definitely be doing another triathlon. The next question is, how do I train and how long have I been training for? I started, I guess, properly triathlon training in about February this year. And then, as I say, I did my first triathlon in September. However, I was not training full time between those dates. I had a job this summer, which was quite intense, and then I was able to train on certain days, but to be honest, I was just exhausted for most of the summer and I definitely didn't train as much as I should have been. So I guess one of the ways that I train, and something that has my whole heart, and if you've ever seen my TikTok or my Instagram reels, you will know exactly what I'm about to say, is park run. So these run all over the UK and abroad in some other countries. I have done a couple in Germany. They are 5-kilometre runs in your local park. They are completely free to do. They are timed, so you get emailed your time at the end of them. At 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning in parks up and down the UK. You can go along, you can have a go, you can either run it, you can walk it, you can jog it. It is a great way to start your Saturday, and it is also great training if you are thinking of doing a challenge or you are doing a triathlon. In terms of other training, I have never followed a specific plan, and this was one of the other questions, was do you have a coach? No, I do not have a coach, because to be honest, I've got other commitments, and unlike somebody who maybe works a 9 to 5 and knows exactly what evenings they're going to be free on a regular basis, my life doesn't work like that. Things crop up each week, and I can't guarantee that I'm always going to be free on a Tuesday night, for example. And so instead, I try and look at training as more across the whole week. So I might say this week I want to run 20 kilometers, I want to do 2 swim sessions, and I want to cycle once. This means if the weather's bad and you don't fancy going out for a run or a cycle in torrential rain, you've got other options. You can go swimming instead. It means if one of your friends invites you for a pizza at the last minute, you don't have to say no because you've got a run plan. That's ridiculous. You can just move things around, but it still gives you that level of accountability whereby you've said, look, I want to have this done by the end of the week, and giving yourself these things to work towards, these little goals, will really help to motivate you. How have you found the time for training? Sorry, my questions are down here. And how have you balanced it with uni? And I think one of the things that I found is that people think that uni and triathlon training are completely separate, but for me, I think there is a way of merging the two, particularly in terms of my own mental health. When I'm sat in the library at uni, I'm super stressed because I've got so much work to do, but instead I say to myself, look, Imogen, you've got things that you could be doing to help your triathlon training. Is sitting and staring at your laptop for the next half an hour going to be beneficial, or is going out on a half an hour run, which will help to clear your head, going to help you a bit more? Because not only does it help with one of those kind of small ticks in your day, it does help you to feel a little bit more like you've got something done, but it also helps to get things in perspective. When I sit and stare at an essay for 3 or 4 hours, it can often feel like that's the only thing that's important. So even if things aren't going well at university that week, I think it highlights to me, by going swimming or going running or going and training, that there's more to life than just sitting and working and my academic validation. I've come so far with triathlon, and that's something that I can be really proud of. The next one is a bit more lighthearted, and that is, what is your favorite sport out of the 3, and which do you find the easiest? In terms of which ones I enjoy, running is definitely my favourite because it's just the most transferable and it's such a lovely way to explore new places. Obviously, I travel quite a bit on the weekends from uni, and running is something that I can do wherever I am. All I need is a pair of my running trainers. In terms of the one that I'm not particularly keen of, at the moment it's cycling, just because it's really hard to find the time to do cycling when it gets light at about 8 a.m. and gets dark at 4 p.m. In terms of ability, I would say my swimming and my running are definitely better than my cycling. My cycling is my downfall and something that I really need to work on. Linked to the question before about how I train each week, I think it's really important to point out here that actually being able to train for a triathlon is a privilege. And the next question is, do you need any specific kit and what do you wear for a triathlon? So I have a tri-suit. So this is my tri-suit. It was £20 from Decathlon. It's the cheapest one in their range. If you are looking to get any kit, I would recommend Decathlon, especially if you're just starting out because it's quite affordable. So it's basically an all-in-one. You just wear a sports bra underneath this. So it's got padded cycling shorts at the bottom, and then it's just made of lycra, and I mean, you can see what it looks like. You don't wear a swimming costume. You wear this for the whole race, and then you wear a wetsuit over the top when you're doing the swim part of the race. Obviously, when you're in the water, you don't wear shoes, but you then need a pair of trainers to put on for the bike and the run sections. Some people who have proper bikes, not like my little mountain bike, will have like special cycling shoes that clip into their pedals. Where with my flat trainers, I only really get the power when I'm pushing down on the pedal and not when I'm pulling back up. If you are clipped into that pedal, you can then pull it round and get more power on the bike. The one thing that I would say, and particularly for beginners, is you do not need any specific kit. My mentality with training was always that I wasn't going to invest in kit until I knew I actually wanted to do triathlon. And to prove that to myself, I had to do that first ever sprint triathlon race. So I did it in my old pair of trainers. The only thing that I bought was that tri-suit because you genuinely can't do it without that. I hired a wetsuit on the day because otherwise I would freeze to death, and I absolutely hate the swimming part of it. But that meant that I didn't have to invest in a wetsuit, and I used my mountain bike, which I've had since I was about 14. Oh, and obviously I needed a helmet, but I already had that as well. I think that addresses kit costs, but in terms of training costs, so the cost for training that I have incurred, when I was swimming with university, so I was swimming at specific times 3 times a week, I paid £70 for my annual membership for that. And then I was also doing spin class on a Tuesday, so that was £3. I got a gym membership during exams. I got that in a student deal, so I just paid for 1 month, and that was £20. In terms of cost that I've got now, I don't swim with the uni anymore, so each time I want to go swimming, I pay about £5 for that. During summer, I went to Hampstead Heath a couple of times, and again, you can swim there for about £4 or £5, and that is an unheated outdoor swimming pool. Then I have joined a local triathlon group, and this really does help with motivation because on a Thursday evening at about 7 p.m, when I really can't be bothered to train anymore, it gets me out the door. I get to train with some people who are very, very good at triathlon and more than happy to give me lots of free advice. So I pay £30 a month. The next question is, how do you manage nutrition and have you changed your diet in any way? Now, I would say my diet has changed quite a bit. I try and get in as much protein as I can because I do train quite a lot during the week, and inevitably this just makes me hungrier than I used to be when I wasn't training at all. Try and have more protein just because that makes me feel fuller for longer. So a lot of chicken, a lot of eggs, a lot of Greek yogurt, and often some oats with some protein powder. That's the bulk of my diet, I guess. And then in terms of nutrition when I'm actually training, this is something that I need to work on. My sessions now often are about an hour, but sometimes they do go up to kind of 2-3 hours. And as soon as you go over an hour, the recommendation is that you start having nutrition whilst you're training. I have had half a banana once and definitely helped with energy levels. Nutrition is something that I really need to work on. I need to be looking at gels, energy gels. And I think this is an interesting point. How on earth do I know all of this stuff? I've watched a lot of YouTube videos. I read a few books about triathlon. In fact, here it is. I've just finished this book, which is Louise Minchin's book all about how she got into triathlon, which I would really recommend if you're thinking of starting. But yeah, books, YouTube, TikTok, you can really teach yourself everything you need to know. And yes, a coach is fantastic if you want somebody to kind of motivate you. But if you don't have the money to afford it or you're on a student budget, you can learn so much from the internet. It's just about spending the time finding it. The next question is, have you felt yourself getting faster and stronger? Now, I do track most of my training on my watch, and I definitely found myself getting faster. Obviously, the statistics show for themselves that I'm getting faster, but also physically, I feel stronger. I've seen massive improvements in my mental health. I'm sleeping a lot better. The way I look has changed a little bit because of triathlon, just because I've gone from doing no exercise to doing quite a high volume of exercise each week. But in terms of the mental benefits. They have been huge and so beneficial. Finally, I have waffled on for long enough, and if you know me, you know that I could talk for England about triathlon now. But I think it is important to end on some recommendations for people looking to do their own challenge, looking to do their own triathlon, get into fitness, do some running this year. I don't know, whatever your goals are, I hope these few tips can help you. So the first one I would say is give yourself a month. Give yourself a time frame and keep yourself accountable for that time frame. A little bit of self-discipline and telling other people so that they keep you accountable will go a long way. You will never feel ready to book a race. I certainly wasn't when I booked my first sprint. I certainly don't feel ready to book my next triathlon, but it is important, and I need to take my own advice. Get a date in stone because it will help motivate you and it will give you something to work towards. Do parkrun, do things with other people, find somebody who's got a similar level as you, similar goals to you, and try and train with them if possible. It will help, again, keep you accountable. It is much harder to miss a run or miss a training session if you're meant to be doing it with somebody else and they text you and say, hey, where are you? Than if you're just meant to go out on some random evening and do it on your own. Another tip I would say is surround yourself by people doing similar things. This doesn't necessarily have to be in real life. Not a lot of my friends do triathlon, but I watch a lot of TikTok of other people doing triathlon. I consume way too much social media, so I may as well make that beneficial for my training as well. And you will learn things along the way. It will also help you to feel less alone in your goals. And the final thing, which is not necessarily for everyone, but is to document the journey, because you'll be able to look back and see how far you've come, and that is a huge motivator in itself. Back at the start of this year, it took me 32 minutes to do 5 kilometers, and just last weekend I did a sub 24-minute PB. That is a huge improvement, and that in itself just motivates me to want to become faster and stronger through my training. So documenting the process is important, even though it seems kind of pointless. This doesn't necessarily have to be visual through photos and things. It can literally just be writing down what you're doing. If you've stuck around till now, thank you very much for listening to me waffling on. Give this video a big thumbs up if you've found it useful or you've enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel to see more stuff about triathlon, balancing triathlon life with student life, and all sorts of things like that. Otherwise, have a lovely day, and I will see you next time with a new video. Bye!